Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. It is the most exciting time for sports fans in this great country down under. And while the AFL one is cool, look, enjoy it, you Victorians. But we all know that everyone in Sydney and everyone in Brisbane is looking forward to this. The NRL Grand Final for 2023. It's not exactly the fans' Grand Final, but by God, Penrith Panthers, one of the great dynasties ever. Even if they lose this Grand Final, they're one of the best teams of all time. If they win this one, then they are statistically the best team in the NRL era, and you can make the case that they are one of the best teams we've ever seen in world sport. And on the other hand, the young guns, the Brisbane Broncos, the biggest franchise in the country, whether it's AFL or NRL. They're young, they're hot, they are so exciting, and they are going to be led by the halfback who is still fuming that he got beaten by this lot 2 years ago. It is going to be insane, but ladies and gentlemen, you know what you're here for. We got to try and tip this bloody thing, and by God, this is worse than trying to tip Origin, because genuinely, and I know a lot of people are writing Brisbane off, I genuinely do think the Broncos have the chance and have the game to upset these Penrith Panthers. But ladies and gentlemen, as always, smash that like button if you haven't already, because that was the greatest intro of all time. And if you haven't smashed the like button, then what are you doing? Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Drop your predictions in that comment section down below, and let's start talking all things Grand Final. And look, I totally get why everyone is saying that the Penrith Panthers are the favourites. This is their fourth straight Grand Final. No team has done that since the cheating Melbourne Storm over 15 years ago. Well, I ain't getting my maths perfectly right, but we ain't here to talk about maths. We're here to talk about rugby league. And I genuinely think that this Grand Final could be one of the best of recent memory because, as I said, it's not exactly the fans' Grand Final because, let's face it, we're either going to have to see a Penrith Panthers three-peat or a Brisbane Broncos premiership. And neither are exactly the scenarios we wanted to see at the start of the year, except me because, you know, I tipped Penrith to win the Grand Final. But from a pure arousal rugby league perspective, this is going to be absolutely insane because it's easily the best two teams all year. When we got to finals, we sort of thought, hey, maybe Melbourne could upset, maybe Brisbane. You know, they don't have much finals experience. Maybe they choke when they get to the big stage, but played each other twice before. In round one, it was the Brisbane Broncos who picked up a huge upset win, and one of the games of the year, despite the rain, it was still a high quality game of football. And then they played each other again, I think the week after Magic Round, and the Broncos were without Adam Reynolds, and they still put up a pretty good fight up against the Penrith Panthers. The Panthers just had a bit too much class and got the result. So despite these two teams playing each other twice, we still get to see them at their full power, because in round one, obviously, it was raining, it was pissing down. Both teams really didn't get a chance to do too much because, look, both teams were playing round one. And we all know round one level 40 isn't exactly the highest of quality. But round 11, no Adam Reynolds. The Penrith Panthers were lucky to get a win there, because if Adam Reynolds plays, it's hard not to see the Broncos winning. In case you don't remember exactly how that game went, Penrith winning quite comfortably in the end, but it was very close for a long amount of time. But that was over 20 weeks ago. And guess what? We're doing it again. Penrith versus Brisbane, and they match up so well. You got Dylan Edwards, the most consistent fullback in the game for the past few years, and as soon as he was starting to establish himself as the best fullback in the competition, as Tedesco's form has declined, as does Latrell, and Servo seem to have been cursed by the injury gods, we've seen the emergence of a kid named Reece Walsh, who we all thought, yeah, is probably going to be a freak one day because he did show glimpses at the Warriors, but holy heck, did I think that this quickly, and did I think that this quick, that this kid would be as insane as he is? Oh my God, this kid is already, you could argue he's the best fullback in the competition. That is how good this year has been for him. And I think just on this year, he has been the best fullback in the competition. More than Tedesco, more than Turbo, more than Latrell. I mean, this is a position where we've talked about it being stacked, and this young kid in his first year at the club that let him go just a few years ago because they thought that Darius Boyd and Jermaine Osaka were going to be the key, has turned on one of the best years I've ever seen from a fullback. It's certainly nowhere near 21 Turbo, 12 Barber, 09 Hayne sort of level, But Jesus Christ, it's not as crazy behind it as you may think. The battle of the back fives, as much as we've talked about the fullbacks, you got Toto and Taruva. Brian Toto, one of the game's best wingers. And on the other side, you got Cobbo, who you think, well, Jesus. Talk about the best wingers in the competition. He's certainly in the top tier. And the other wingers, Afters and Taruva, I'd probably give the edge to Taruva, but they're two of the best up-and-coming wingers we've seen in a long time. And then the centers, man. Holy heck. Staggs and Farnworth. I would put Herbie Farnworth as honestly, look, just talk about club football, take out rep football, take away the hammer, Latrell. He is probably the best left centre in this entire competition. Katoni Staggs still is capable of doing some spectacular things. The way he tore about young Tona Bapia for the Melbourne Storm in week 1 of the finals was brutal. It was so brutal. And then we've got Stephen Crime, the best centre in the competition, and Isaac Targo, probably the best young centre in the competition. The backlines match up so well, and then we get to the halves, and we can't spend all the day talking about matchups, but Ezra Mann, Jerome Luai, Nathan Cleary, Adam Reynolds, they just did battle in this game 2 bloody years ago. And then the matchup that's going to be so important in this game, Leota, Kenny, Fisher, Harris, Scotty Sorensen, Liam Martin, Isaiah Yeo, take it on Tommy Fleggs, Billy Walters, Payne Haas, Kurt Capewell, a former Panther, Jordan Ricky, and guess what? The best forward in the competition, Paddy Carrigan. The matchups all over the field are insane, and I can't believe people are saying, can the Brisbane Broncos actually beat the Penrith Panthers? Of course they can. For as good as the Penrith Panthers have been for most of this year, and certainly in the final series, they have just gone to another level, as they tend to usually do the past few years. They are more vulnerable this year than maybe not 2021, but certainly last year. Just over a month ago, they were embarrassed by Parramatta. I know that was Parramatta's grand final, but they went, 12 to 18-0 up in 10 minutes? They lost to the Tigers earlier this year, and the Broncos, outside of losing to the Titans, I can't really think of a game. Maybe there was one during Origin period, which the Titans game actually was, even though they nearly had a full-strength team. I can't remember the Brisbane Broncos dropping an easier game. The only one I can think of was the Raiders, and that was all the way back in round 4. And I know the Penrith Panthers have this crazy track record in finals. They've won 8 finals games in a row. The most in a row, the most consecutive finals wins since that 11 in a row St. George side. That is how crazy what Penrith are doing is. But I don't think it's clear cut. Like I just said, they got embarrassed by Parramatta over a month ago. And how did Parramatta do that? Power game, offloads. How did Manly nearly beat the Penrith Panthers at Brookie? By playing dumb footy. And what I mean by dumb is just spread the seed. Let the Steed and Sink go to corners. And look, Ruben Garrick out there trying to impress Eddie Jones, and God, the Wallabies need all the help they can get at the moment. But if the Brisbane Broncos can just match Penrith, I know, it's crazy to think that, because every time, look at the Warriors just a few weeks ago. Every time, look at the grand final last year. Every time we talk about a forward pack trying to match Penrith in a finals game, I can't even remember. Probably the 2020 grand final. Even that 2020 finals week 1 loss to South, they were up for it for a good long time, those Penrith forwards, and they weren't the reason they lost that game. But Leota and Fisher Harris, I can't remember the last big game where they were dominated, but if anyone can, it's the Banana Man Flegler, Payne Haas, and Paddy Carrigan, the best forward in the game in my opinion. And if they love playing that expansive style of footy, Brisbane, and if it comes off, if they can get a 12-0 lead on the Penrith Panthers, that's the one criticism Penrith have had for a few years, and because it gets exposed in Origin as well. Nathan Cleary, Isaiah Yeo, Jerome Luai, they can't go out there and chase points. It's how Brisbane beat them in round 1. Brisbane went up and they were able to hold onto a lead. It's what DCE and Munster have done to that spine. And it's what really, every game Penrith lose, it's because they can't chase points. And now look, am I saying that Nathan Cleary can't chase points? Of course I have. Of course I am not. Don't take the words out of my mouth. But if there's one fault, if there is just one fault in this entire Penrith team, it's that there is that chance that if you go up early, they're going to chase points. That's when Penrith drop their completion rate, and that is when you can take advantage. In saying that, though, if Brisbane try to do what they do to Penrith and Reece Walsh throws that cutout pass, and heck, it's not Martinis Lesniak this time. It's Stephen Crichton, the best interceptor in the game. And maybe Penrith don't allow you back in that game. Warriors were in it. Warriors led both. They scored the first and the third try, so they were leading a good first bit of that match. And if Brisbane allow Penrith to go ahead, then it could be curtains very quickly. So the start of this game is so important. And as much as I've sat here and said that I give the Broncos every chance, I think that might be their undoing. I know. I've just told you why Brisbane can do it. But I am not going to go against this time my preseason prediction last year, my preseason prediction this year, the team I picked to win the comp, win the final salve this year. I can't dog them now on grand final week. I'm not jumping the ship. Brisbane easily have the game to upset Penrith, and this is honestly $1.90 each. It's not $1.60 to $2.20, whatever it is. It's 50-50. It's a flip coin. I just think that if Brisbane have a few many errors in them, and there's no doubt that Reece Walsh and those sort of boys can score points with the amount of strike they have outside, and if any forward pack can match Penrith, it's these Brisbane Broncos. But if they give up that start like they did to the Warriors, if they cause too many errors, which they can do, then it's hard not to see Penrith winning. So I am going to take the Penrith Panthers. I'm taking them 1 to 12 points. Honestly, you can even take Brisbane at a 3-point line. I think this is going to be one of the best grand finals of recent memory, and I cannot wait. So Penrith 1 to 12 for an anytime try scorer. I'm going Stephen Crichton. Loves a big game. Game 100. All the narratives. He's going to Belmore. It's time to get one bit of happiness before you have to go to that hellhole. Sorry, Gus Gould. And for a Clive Churchill medal, my tip, it's boring, but I'm going to go Nathan Cleary for a smoky. And I tipped him 2 years ago, and I thought maybe he could have got it over Cleary, Brian Toto. Because, Jesus, man, that guy is consistent as F. Insert the next 3 letters into that word. But, ladies and gentlemen, Penrith 1 to 12. Anytime try scorer, Stephen Crichton, Clive Churchill, Nathan Cleary. If you're feeling a bit ballish, go Brian Toto. If you think Brisbane can win it, then I think Pat Carrigan for a Clive Churchill is a very, very, very good pick. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know in that comment section who's winning the 2023 NRL Grand Final. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because this is the place to be if you love your rugby league. But I'll get out of your head because you only wanted to listen to what I have to say about who's going to win. And if you want Penrith to win, you're going to like the video. And if you don't want Penrith to win and you want those Broncos to win like a filthy Queenslander, then you're going to dislike the video. So do that. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy Grand Final week, because we're going to have to wait a whole another 52 weeks before we get to do this again. So enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next one. Friday night.